I'm going to talk about Lana Del Rey's latest album shortly, but to lead into that, I want to show this CD by Sinead O'Connor. Sinead died last month at age 56. She's exactly 1 month older than me. And this CD was released in 1990 when we were both 23. It's her second CD and her most successful due to the single Nothing Compares to You, the Prince song. It was everywhere. And every song on this album is incredible, showcases her vocals, which are her own, alone, and her lyrics too, which are often very fierce in content and strong and emotional. Sinead, well, this is, I have this disc, it's 30 plus years old. I keep it because it's an artifact. It's something that I've played probably hundreds of times. Her voice I liken in my own mind to a pipe organ like you'd see in a church. It has that kind of strength, power, and range, high and low. But the organ is made of ice. It chills me to the bone, and the heart and the brain. This album is full of incredible songs with incredible musicians too, including Andy Rourke from the Smiths, who also died, I think, last year. There's also credit to Ya Wobble, who played with Public Image Limited early on. So Sinead, in her time, I guess her whole life really, was mercilessly mocked and criticized. First off, for looking weird, female with a bald, shaved head, great big eyes. There were incidents like the Saturday Night Live appearance where she tore up the Pope's photograph, I believe in protest of the church's sex abuse, which at that time wasn't as widely known or understood as it is now, but was, for that and other things, mocked, considered crazy, dismissed as irrelevant, and really treated poorly. In spite of her very public admissions of problems with substance abuse, mental illness. Her son, Jake, 17 years old, committed suicide last year. She herself was hospitalized after for, well, you can imagine, I guess. And still really unknown as to how she died last month. I don't think it matters. Just a troubled woman who had a beautiful gift, this voice that she shared with the world. So I see a connection between her and Lana Del Rey in that sense of the public criticism. I'll get to that in a moment. But I want to complete this point by mentioning another artist who's been often mocked and ridiculed and thought of as crazy, and that's Morrissey from the Smiths. Here's the Smiths' 1984 album, Hat Full of Hollow. And there's Morrissey there, wearing what the English call a deaf aid, or a hearing aid, just for show. That's the kind of guy Morrissey is and was. Andy Rourke here in front on bass, he's the one that features on Sinead's album. It was a few years after this. And I believe Mike Joyce, the drummer, too, played it with Sinead. But anyway, Morrissey here on his website just after Sinead's passing posted this message. So you know I Couldn't Last is the title. I guess you can pause this if you want to read the whole thing, but I just want to highlight a few things like that. You praise her, and you, referring to the music industry, a hatred for singers who don't fit in. Morrissey says this, I know too well. I praise her now only because it's too late. You hadn't the guts to support her when she was alive and she was looking for you. They would call Sinead fat, shocking, insane, but not today, meaning after her death, calling her feminist icon and so forth. It's very, very strong words. Who cared enough to save Judy Garland, Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse, Marilyn Monroe, Billie Holiday? Powerful stuff from Morrissey, and I agree with every word that he's written there. So the connection that I make between Sinead and Lana Del Rey is that right from her first album, Born to Die, which is full of tragic tunes about lost women and manipulative older men and so forth, that when it was found out that Lana's real name was Lizzie Grant and that she'd been trained, as a musician, come from a privileged family, she was thought of as a fake. And has sort of fought against that label in one way or another ever since. So on this album, this album, Blue Banisters, her last one before the latest one. So Blue Banisters came out last year. She's got a song called Arcadia, which addresses this in a couple of key lines. She uses this metaphor of herself with California pretty ingeniously, but the lines in question, I wrote them down here. Lana doesn't put lyrics in her album. She puts pictures, some taken by her. But these are credits, band credits. Although, having said that, I see that there's lyrics to the song Arcadia here. So she got lyrics to a couple songs, not all of them. Let me find the ones I'm going to talk about. Okay, can you see that? Yeah. So the lyrics, she's talking about leaving California. At the top, they build me up 300 feet tall just to tear me down. So I'm leaving with nothing but laughter in this town, Arcadia, kind of mythical paradise. I'm finding my way to you. She says, I'm leaving them as I was, 5'8", Western belt, plus the hate that they gave. By the way, thanks for that. On the way, I'll pray for you, but you'll need a miracle. America. Can't really be read as anything other than a comment on the treatment she's gotten publicly. So she withdrew from Instagram a while ago and has most recently been in the news for being a waitress at a Waffle House out in Florence, Alabama, a town that she references on the newest album. What this is about, no one knows, but there are many fan-shot videos of her interacting very sweetly with pet customers, including one where she's kind of kneeling next to the table of a very old man and singing to him and with him the song Amazing Grace, the hymn. It's not unknown if this is some kind of performance art or what, but it's an example anyways of Lana's very unique and individual way of being herself. So Lana shares the hate and criticism that she's received with Sinead. I get the feeling Sinead got it harder just because those were other times. But having said that too, Sinead got all that before social media, so who knows? I'm not trying to compare in that way who got it worse. But I find that Lana's themes resonate when you look back at Sinead's. So I have here two versions of this album. released in March of 2023, so this is August. That was several months ago. It took me this long to talk about this album, though, because Lana's songs take a while to percolate in the head. And arguably, I never do settle on an interpretation. I'm still listening to songs from her first album and finding different shades and meanings. But I wanted to give it a good listen, and also I do the same thing with every Lana Del Rey album when it comes out. I love every song so much that I'll listen to the first few, probably the first half here. There's 4 sides because there's 2 LPs in this package, so I think 16 songs total. So, for example, with this one, I knew all the songs pretty well and a lot of the words up until this one at the end of the first half. And then I would just listen to those same songs over and over again and not these other songs so much. So it takes me that long to kind of get through all of them. Her lyrics are really, really interesting and full of references to literature and other cultural things. Again, kind of like Bob Dylan in that way. So it took me a while to kind of listen to it. Also, the second version here, which I ordered from her website, didn't ship until a couple weeks ago. So I knew that was coming. Wanted to show that. But these are the same album. And so, did you know that There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard is the first song? No, I'm sorry. I already got it wrong. I'm going to go kind of song by song here and just describe kind of briefly what I think they're about. I want to say about the grants. I'll start with that. That's her real name, as I mentioned a minute ago. Her name is Elizabeth or Lizzie Grant. And a lot of these songs, including this first one, are about her family, her father. Her father, Rob Grant, had his own album release earlier this year. I believe it was produced by Lana, and she definitely plays on the first single from that album. In fact, she's the only singer on that. He plays piano. And this song is called Hollywood Bowl, that they released together. And one key lyric in that, she says, she sings this. She says, "I know I'm not Joni Mitchell, but I've got a dad who plays like Billy Joel." It's really a sweet tribute to him. So he does play piano on that track, and on the rest of them, I believe he sings himself on his album. The song title, Hollywood Bowl, is again self-referential for Lana. She says a few times in the song, twice I've sang at the Hollywood Bowl, to kind of place herself in the entertainment field, I guess, like her father, who she says plays like Billy Joel. So anyway, the Grants here, the first song, is in some way about him, and begins with a gospel choir. As I talk, I'm going to kind of pull out these albums, just show the artwork and so forth. So there's a gospel choir that starts off there, and she mentions family members of hers, like her grandmother, and specific memories that she has. This beautiful green vinyl edition, by the way, was available as one of the, I think, 4, maybe 5 different options of vinyl for this. And something else I ordered from her website. Came out when the album came out. It's playable, as you can see by the grooves. But she's got this song about her family to start off, and then the title song of the album, Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard? That's the second song. There actually is a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard in Long Beach. She uses that tunnel as a metaphor. One of her key lyrics is that she feels the same as that tunnel, handmade beauty sealed up by 2 walls. I found online pictures of that actual tunnel. It's called the Jurgens Tunnel. This artist, this photographer, was allowed permission in there, but as you can see from the text below, it says it was built in 1927 and then closed in 1967 and sealed up. So I'm going to show a little bit of what's in this tunnel. She herself describes the mosaics and tiles that are in there. There's a view of the location itself. All right, and then if we go kind of forward into the tunnel, you can see some details. Okay, walking through. It's kind of spooky looking. Reminds me of a movie like The Shining. Never mind those noises. That's the photographer's lights that are set up there. We've got the stairs. See, here's some tile on the floor. You can see the ceilings as well. Ordinarily, of course, it wouldn't be lit up like that. I'm in a 360-degree view, though. It's pretty interesting. So she uses the actual location as this metaphor. And she refers also to other cultural things. Besides this tunnel, she talks about or sings about the Harry Nilsson song, Don't Forget Me, right down to the specificity of saying that his voice breaks at 2:05, and it does. Famously, he made that album with John Lennon, who forced him to sing take after take, and finally he blew out his vocal cords. The song is Don't Forget Me, and that's a repeated line all through this song, the tunnel song. Also, when's it gonna be my turn? So Lana is connecting herself to other art and artists, seeing herself as in some way suffering or being forced to suffer, or being sealed off, or whatever it is. It's sung very beautifully, though. It's a great track to begin with. Next song is Sweet. It's a beautiful piano and string ballad. Sweet comes from one of the repeated lines. You'll find me in the sweet North Country, presumably of California. A&W is the major song. I don't know if it's exactly a single, but it was the best known, I guess, song of all of these. A&W has a double meaning at least. The chorus of the line of the song has repeated imagery of her saying, "This is the experience of being an American whore." So AW there, but then she added that "and," which evokes, of course, the brand, the root beer and kind of diner brand. There's one near here in Boulder City, Nevada. Americana, a constant recurring theme with Lana Del Rey. So this song also has some memories of childhood. It starts off her singing, "I haven't done a cartwheel in a long time." Experience being an American whore. For the first half of the song, it's an acoustic guitar and piano, and then it amazingly and dramatically morphs into a completely different song, a trip-hop song. A combination of dream pop and hip hop. So in this section, she talks about Jimmy Cocoa Puff. Jimmy only love me when you want to get high. It's a repeated character. She's referred to as Jimmy in other songs and other albums too. And then almost every Lana Del Rey song has a classic line in it that sticks in my head. This one, repeated over and over again. She says, "Your mom called. I told her you're fucking up big time." And at one point, she said, "I don't care, baby. I've already lost my mind." Like that. There's in that second half also goes from almost a folk type song to a trippy song with weird audio effects, echoes, going back from one speaker to another, etc. So, I mean, amazing continuation of her use of the horror imagery. She's done that since the very start. And kind of expanding it here. Next song is Judah Smith Interlude. Here, Judah Smith is an actual preacher, real life preacher, one of these Hollywood preacher types. I believe his church is attended by Justin Bieber and other celebrities, including Lana Del Rey. This interlude is a recording of one of his sermons. I don't know if it was in the building at the time, if it's ambient sound, but there's some piano that you hear alongside it, but it's not really a song. It really is like a spoken word section of the album, I would describe it as, but seems to be part of his sermon. And then there's Lana commenting on a little bit, laughing at the jokes that he makes, clearly part of the audience. This is a weird section, it's not a song, and my tendency is always to skip it, but I listened to it carefully, and I've read reviews of this. Reviews, by the way, have been great. Pitchfork has already called it one of the best albums of the year. But this, as I understand it, Judah Smith is talking about the difference between love and lust. He cites Psalms chapter 8 and reads from his version of it. Here's the King James version. The song that celebrates, as a lot of them do, the glory and power of God, but also questions why God is so devoted to and interested in such a miserable type of being as a human. So, praising the Lord, how excellent is thy name, out of the mouth of babes. I guess that's where that phrase comes from, I'm assuming. Hast thou ordained strength? And then the key verse here, I think, and the one that Smith emphasizes is number 3. He says, what I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers. Can we see this? Gosh. There we go. The work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained. And when I consider that, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him? In other words, you created these incredible things. Why me? Why, God, are you so mindful of me? Why'd you send your son down? Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's before. I should know this. That's before Jesus. But anyway, thou hast made him, man, humans, a little lower, just a little lower than angels, and crowned him. Why did you do this? That question remains unanswered. So Smith cites Psalms 8 in his talk. And then he concludes with his own commentary, I guess. And as far as I can tell, the key point of that is that Smith says that I used to think that meaning his preaching, was all about God. But now he understands that his preaching is mostly about me, about himself. So combined with the reference from Psalms, the focus on the individual, I'm going to interpret this whole passage as referencing Lana's own songwriting as being mostly about herself, even though she's clearly created characters, and is that's another thing that she's been criticized for, is the characters in her songs not matching her real life experiences as people understand them. Well, Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen, among many others, have done the same, and not been subject to that kind of criticism, at least not as much, I feel. And Springsteen actually in his Broadway show said something really brilliant and funny about that, which is that he's seen as this icon, this representative of the working class. He's got all these songs about going to the factory and working on the line and stuff like that. But he says in his show, well, I never had a job. He's always been a musician, he says, and he made it all up. And people laugh at that. Whereas I get the feeling that they might not find it so funny from a female artist. I feel like maybe things are still skewed that way. But anyway, there's that Preacher interlude, and then we've got the song Candy Necklace, which is featuring Jon Batiste, the great musician, pianist, and singer, who's on Stephen Colbert's show, I believe, still as the band leader. So Candy Necklace, a duet with him. Classic line in this one is, you the best, but baby, you've been bringing me down, says Lana, and Jon Batiste plays the piano on that. This is the only video, or the only song from the album that has an actual video in terms of moving action. The rest are visualizers, still image. So I'll post the video for Candy Necklace in the description to this one. Then you can see Jon Batiste gets his own interlude. This is a very strange, kind of formless piece. It's not really a song. It's got piano notes through it, some percussion and echoes, some production there. Jon Batiste is speaking or yelling throughout, kind of random things. A lot of I feel it heavy is the words or the phrase that I wrote down. You hear Lana also kind of in the background. She doesn't seem to be mic'd up. She's away from the mic, but she's laughing and saying something. But it's just an odd interlude. I compare it to something like from the Beatles' White Album. There's a couple of really weird, almost ambient and experimental songs on that. So it's not that long. It's not that annoying. And then finally, for the conclusion of the first half of this, is in this edition, it's song 8, the fourth one on side B, song called Kintsugi. And this is a song that really caught my attention. It seemed to intersect with a few other things I was looking at the same time in terms of art and culture. Kintsugi, of the title, is defined in the song itself. In general, kintsugi is it's when you break apart a piece of pottery, glue it back together using a colored glue, like usually gold, but also silver or other colors, and so that the repaired piece, the dish or bowl, whatever it is, would show the cracks. And the idea is that made it more beautiful than it was before. For example, the images on this page. Right? These are all bowls, pottery that's been broken and then pieced back together using various different colors. There's usually some kind of metal or oxide in the glue. So that's kintsugi from the Japanese tradition. And Lana uses it as a metaphor for the idea of a broken heart being put back together and being stronger and more beautiful for that. She also, in this song, says that when the heart breaks, that's how the light gets in. And let the light in is another repeated phrase in this. There's multiple references to that. She's talking, in addition to what she herself is saying, she's talking about Leonard Cohen. She's making a reference to his song Anthem, which famously says there's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. The song itself is mostly about death and funerals of family members. She's talking to her father again in a lot of this, saying, "Daddy, I miss them." She had an uncle who committed suicide, referenced in another song too. And she says there's a name for it in Japanese. It's kintsugi, so it defines it specifically. She also has referenced Leonard Cohen back to him on Mariner's Apartment Complex, the great song from Norman fucking Rockwell from a couple years back. Kind of the start of her recent series of masterpieces. But I'm Your Man on Mariner's Apartment Complex, direct reference to a Leonard Cohen song title. So clearly Cohen's in this one too. And this song also has a great, I'm looking at my notes here. The song has a great theme of kind of trying to understand her family. Even after it's too late, she references that I think the uncle had, or maybe it was not the uncle, but a family member had 2 heart attacks. She was only there for the 3rd and last one. Feels guilt about that. Is amazed that at the funeral in Kintsugi, her relatives know the songs that she loves. They're all singing Froggy Goes a Courtin'. Very specific detail that's characteristic of Lana's writing. So for the second half of the album, I'm gonna kind of thumb through this one. This is a special edition. Lana literally bearing her breast here. I thought that was an interesting choice of hers artistically and metaphorically. This is considered her most personal album yet, as far as anyone knows. As I've been describing these songs, a lot of them are about specific events or family members. These things are known from either Lana herself explaining them or just, I don't know, things that are known. I'm not sure who that is. Most likely one of the collaborators of the album. Here's another picture of Lana seemingly topless. So at age 38, she's, looking to change the way people look at her in a way. I don't think, to my knowledge, she hasn't posed like that before. I'm very intrigued by this label cover. I don't really know what that is. Oh, I guess it's industrial towers of some sort. Maybe silos. Got a lot of industrial landscapes that she has in a lot of her album photography. So, there's no track listing here. Speaking of industrial landscapes, though, there's a transformer location. All right, so we got a list here. I'm going to go back to the other album, though, because they're all lined up. Okay, so Fingertips. Some pretty raw-seeming reflections on motherhood. Lana herself is not a mother, not yet, anyway. In this song, she kind of wonders, will she ever be? More reflections on mortality, sung beautifully. Paris, Texas. Immediately, what I think of is the movie, the great movie with Harry Dean Stanton from the 80s, directed by Wim Wenders. This is the song where she references friends of mine, of hers, in Florence, Alabama, which is where she's been working at a Waffle House. And again, no one knows why. This is almost a waltz-like time signature on this song. A lot of these songs are, I would call, mid-tempo to ballad length. And the way I've been describing them, it may sound like a downer, so many songs about mortality and whatnot, but it's not. And the way that best artists do, her voice, is just a work of art itself and goes right through you. This is a whole song. These 3 lines here is song title. Grandfather, please stand on the shoulders of my father's while he's deep-sea fishing. So clearly more family references, the influence of family on herself. This has a lot of orchestral music, a lot of strings. This album was produced or co-produced with Lana by Jack Antonoff, a.k.a. Bleachers. She worked with him for the last couple albums. There he is there, too. And he's kind of expanded her sound, or not expanded, she had orchestra from the start, but aided her to sound cinematic, I would say. A lot of swelling music like that. Let the Light In. Here's another reference to Kintsugi about, and also the Cohen song. Let the Light In. Beautiful duet with a great singer named Father Jon Misty, who she's worked with before. It's a love song. He's got a clear, high voice, and the two of them together just are something to hear. Margaret featuring Bleachers, featuring Antonoff, is a song written by Lana about Antonoff and his wife. One of the first lines of the song is, "This is a simple song, I'm going to write it for a friend." And it's about the cute story of how they met and everything. And the refrain throughout is, "When you know, you know. When you know it's love," I guess. And then the last track on this album is called Taco Truck by VB. The VB is Venice Bitch. Oh, gosh, I wanted to say before, I skipped ahead a couple songs here. Okay, I'm going to backtrack here. On Fishtail, the great line there that I love is that she says, "I'm not that smart, but I've got things to say." Yeah, me too. And I flip through the notes here. Peppers featuring Tommy Genesis. I didn't know who that was, and I assumed it was a man. But in fact, it's a female rapper from Canada. And she's got a song called Angelina, which is either sampled or she performs the song in her own voice. I'm not quite sure which, but in any event, Tommy Genesis repeats this line, "Hands on your knees, Angelina Jolie," which kind of makes no sense. But this Lana's verses are kind of like her very first song that was known, which is Born to Die. Tragic and doomed lyrics, trip-hop beats. Interesting addition of that female rapping voice. She's got a raspy rap voice. It's kind of appealing, whatever she's meaning. So then we get to Taco Truck by VB. That's Venice Bitch from Norman fucking Rockwell. It's a reimagined version of the song. There's some new lyrics at the beginning, a new rhythm, and then the Norman fucking Rockwell version of Venice Bitch kicks in about halfway through. This line is in both versions. No, maybe it's not, actually. I take it back. It's not in this version. It's from the NFR version. But this is where she says she's fresh out of fucks forever. It's a line that goes through my head a lot. And she also references "Nothing Gold Can Stay." She sings that line several times in this in the NFR version. It's a Robert Frost poem, and also the title of the song "Crimson and Clover" from the '60s. And to kind of complete this discussion, I want to reference one more song. It's not on here, but it came out shortly after the album came out. It was a single only online. It's called "Say Yes to Heaven." It's a beautiful song, and the first line of it, she repeats later in the song, which she says, "If you dance, I'll dance, and if you don't, I'll dance anyway." I've tried to convey what I get from Lana Del Rey. She's the artist I think I've made the most videos on. She's amazing, and hope that this has helped increase your appreciation of her. All right, I'm going to sign off here, and I'll be back soon.